god, dude, these photos are fucked. What? Those colours. Bro. Like, can I press the shutter?
Photography is such a beautiful thing. It allows you to turn boring, everyday things into beautiful pieces of art. But when you're first starting out, it can seem impossible and confusing as to which direction you should go down. So over the past 8 years of me being a photographer, I've boiled it down to these 3 main things that enable you to capture amazing photos in the everyday life that surrounds you. Now the first one you're probably not going to like, because I'm sure you've heard the term from all these other YouTubers who say gear doesn't matter, including me. If you buy a good lens, it will open up your perspective to photography. And what I mean by that is, when I started street photography, all I had was a wide angle lens and a 50mm lens. And it wasn't until I bought a 70-200, I saved up because they are expensive, but once I bought this lens, it just changed everything for me. I'd seen all these photos and I was like, how do people get these shots of like people all the way down the street? And like they're very compressed and they're really good shots, and it's using this lens here. Now this lens didn't just magically make me better overnight, but what it did do was it gave me this whole new world of photos that I'd never been able to take before. Previously, I would have to shoot subjects that were very close to me, and sometimes that was scary because you don't want to shoot someone who's like right in front of you, because then they're going to see you and potentially be like, oh, delete the photo or whatever like that. So having this new focal length where I could stand all the way back and take photos of people who are all the way down the street made it a lot more easier in terms of the confrontational side of street photography, but also it allowed me to get these shots that I could never get before. So invest in a good lens. It doesn't have to necessarily be a 70-200. It could be a 35mm, an 85, a 50mm. It really depends on the style of photography that you're doing, but if you're gonna invest in anything, invest in a good lens. This one might seem, very simple and straight to the point, but it is by far, if you forget everything that I've said in this video, just remember this. Find a group of creative friends. There's nothing better than being able to go to one of your friends who's a photographer and you can just be like, oh, I have this really cool idea. And then you both start bouncing ideas off of each other. And then your idea goes from here, being like an average idea, to something that's really good. And you can go out and create it together. And you have someone to go out and shoot with, someone to talk about photography with, because let's be honest, you're not going to talk about photography with like your mom and dad. Like, what are they going to say? Oh, like, you know what 1/4 of a shutter is? They're going to be like, what are you talking about? So having someone who you can talk to photography about and just creative stuff in general is also really good. Also, if you're doing night photography, having a group of friends is good, because sometimes it can be a bit sketchy going out at night by yourself, especially with all your camera gear. So I myself don't even like to go out at night and shoot by myself, so that's why it's great to have other friends who like night photography, because you can all go out, all be safe, and if someone comes up to you, you can just fucking get a group of friends, group of creative mates. Before we move on to the next tip, I just wanted to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is absolutely no one, so I'm just gonna have to plug the presets once again. So V3 presets are now 50% off for Black Friday, so if you've been thinking about getting them, go and grab them in the description below. They come in a pack of 50, 25 presets from me, 25 from North Borders. There's 50 video tutorials where Mike and I tell you which photo will work best with which preset, so we tell you how to do that, but also how to adjust the preset once you apply it to make it look the best on your image. And then we also have 50 of our raw images that we have taken for you to play around with your editing with. So if you want to grab them for 50% off, link is in the description below. Anyways, back to tip number 4, which is don't pigeonhole yourself. And if you don't know what that means, it pretty much means don't put yourself into one box when it comes to your photography style. There's often this talk about, oh, I need to find my photography style and I want to find the right tones and the right colors to use in my images. And whilst that's all great, like I think it is great to find your style, and you will naturally find your style just by going out and taking photos more and just editing more. The problem lies when you let your style constrict you. For example, you might be editing a photo and This happens to me as well all the time. Like, I love the color blues in my photos, and I'm always adding blues to the tones and stuff, but sometimes it doesn't work. Like, the blue color just doesn't work with the edit. And I want to use like an orange tone or a green tone, but it's not within my style. And previously, I would let that constrict my creativity, and I wouldn't want to post that photo or edit it in that certain way because it's outside of my style. Because from my experience, it's often those last minute changes, those last random little sliders that you change and you're like, oh shit, that actually looks pretty good. That is what ultimately leads to you developing as a creator and also getting better at photography and finding your style. Alright, last little bonus tip, don't be afraid to market yourself. I know sometimes as photographers we can be a bit shy, or we don't want to go up to someone and be like, oh, I'm a photographer, like, do you need any photos? But this is crucial. If you want to find work as a photographer and if you want to make photography your job, you need to be able to sell yourself. Not sell out, but sell yourself. Big difference. This could mean next time you're in a cafe, you could just start speaking to the barista or the manager and just be like, hey, like, do you guys need any photos done? They might say no, or they might say yes. Could be in a restaurant, could be anywhere. Could be at your next family event. You could ask any of your family members if they have an event coming up, and you could just bring your camera to it and start taking photos. There's so many different ways. But if you want to become a freelance photographer and start making money out of photography, you're going to have to get better at asking people if they need photos. And honestly, once you've done it a couple times, you'll be surprised at how many jobs you can get just by simply having a conversation with someone and just mentioning that you do freelance photography. That is all from me, but I want to hear what you think. What do you think are some things that can help photographers get better, faster? And you guys can leave that in the comments below and have a chat about that. But that is all from me today. As always, don't think, just do.